Now, we're all in agreement. There's an affordable housing crisis in Calgary. I promised that you were going to get your opportunity. You've touched on some quick examples of some of the things that you would do as mayor. And now I'm going to give you, and I know it's only 2 minutes, now I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to say what you would do as mayor to overcome the affordable housing crisis in this city, and we'll begin with Mr. Hare.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I mentioned 3 of those things, but the successful housing other municipalities around North America have instituted a suite of options for different citizens and different affordability gaps to take part in. I said 3 of those things I would do. One would be legalizing secondary suites. The second would be the inclusionary zoning. Third thing was be getting the private sector involved in building some more apartment stock. So let's look at some other things. We need cooperative housing models that other jurisdictions are using and many people are taking part in. Let's get community land trust as part of the game. Let's look at the city setting aside some areas for affordable housing, which they are starting to do. Those are type of things that I would look at as being mayor, bringing a suite of options to different people to get the housing options that they want. Government doesn't decide for everyone what housing options that they want. We have to facilitate a city where options where people can afford houses, who are in rental categories, as well as looking for home opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Mr. Conley.
Thank you. When I appear at the end of the table, we'll be familiar with the National Alliance to End Homelessness in the United States. They have 10,000 partners, and they've done very, very well. In terms of results, they reduced homelessness in Chicago by 12%, in Denver by 46%, and in Columbus, Ohio by 36%. So how did they do it? Well, they did it by taking a business approach to this situation. Homelessness is a continuum. You have people who are just under the line, just under the poverty line. You've got people that are chronic, that are in homeless shelters every night. And the 4-point plan goes something like this. You need to plan for the outcomes for each of those individual groups under the continuum. You need a strategy for each subgroup, and you need to target the resources appropriately. It's a business approach called Situation, Target, Action, Result. It's called the STAR method. Part 2 is make mainstream programs accountable for outcomes. You want the players at the table, and you tie them all together with a strategy, as I said, from part 1. Part 3 is self-evident. You develop, subsidize, and acquire a supply of affordable housing, and you scatter those housing types. Peter Drucker once said, leadership is about results, and the results in Ward 6 speak for themselves. I opened the summit of Montreux myself against enormous community opposition, and I've got 2 more in the books in Glenbrook and West Springs. I opened an affordable seniors complex in Glenmorgan, and I opened a women's shelter in Westgate. And I was at the Homeless Connect with Alderman Pidcock, because that goes to my last point, which is we need to build the supporting infrastructure. Not only housing, but jobs and the services that go along with it, like Homeless Connect. We need to get those services to them, because they all have different needs. Some of them have different addictions, some of them have different financial requirements. And we need to get youth training to keep them out of the homeless cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Mr. Hawksworth.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, we need to build a new relationship with the province, and housing has to be part of that relationship. And as mayor, I would be a strong advocate for the continuation of block funding to the city of Calgary. I would make sure that the next council doesn't roll back the progress that we've made over the past 3 or 4 years. We've put in place some great building blocks. We've got a good foundation, and we need to press on. We need to continue with our partnerships with the private sector and the nonprofit sector. The next mayor and council need to make sure that the attainable home ownership initiative succeeds. I believe we need to bring a community focus to our economic development strategy, and we need to be advocates for income support programs, looking at things like a living wage policy and other initiatives that would help people in our community get the resources they need to fend for themselves and buy the housing that they can afford.
Thank you, Mr. Hawksworth. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. One thing that a business seeks to accomplish is to leverage their assets. So there's a number of individuals at this table that bring up small business and business approach to this problem, this dilemma, this challenge. And so leveraging assets, that's one thing that I would explore immediately. One, I mentioned it before, consolidating all the agencies. Now, I don't know if that means under one roof per se, but definitely applying IT, technology, and some cyber opportunities to integrate the different organizations at a provincial, federal, and municipal level. I think that's key. That needs to happen immediately. Mentor with successful families. This is something has helped us breed one of the best hockey nations in the world. And how we mentor with coaches, how we mentor with players, how we mentor with managers. We can do the same thing. So people that have families that are challenged, we can mentor with the successful families. We can recruit people that want to work and work on a solution, creating an opportunity for those families to get a little more intimate and close with people and try to transfer knowledge. There's a number of homeowners in the city. We have secondary suites that's been on the table, but if we start to create an inventory of people within the city and homeowners that would like to be part of the solution, I think we can get those 4,000 people off the waiting list. And also, if we're looking at jobs and living wages, Bob mentioned, this city has 111,000 empty acres of land, and it's not being utilized. So if I was a business owner and I had 111,000 empty acres of land, I'd be sure trying to involve those assets in the bottom line.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Mr. Johnston.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I look at this issue as very complex. I don't know anything about it. It takes time to learn things when you come in from another place. I've been watching Calgary for a long time. I lived in British Columbia, Kamloops for 42 years. And I address this issue as it belongs to all of us. We don't have all the answers up here, and it takes all of us, like I stated before, to work together to make it work. There is a homeless problem, like I said, all over the world. But we have to help. We have to turn the cheek and listen. The ear, cheek, whatever you want to listen with. But that's where we're at. And I think this is going to be an ongoing problem. I don't make promises, folks. I make commitment. And I commit myself to give you the best job I can give. I've been around a little bit, and experience is what makes the world go round. We all have stories. Some are good, some are bad, but they're stories. And it's what makes Calgary what it is. It grew the way it did. It's a fine city. I'm a new resident here, 4 years. I like it, and I plan on staying. And if I can be your mayor, I'd be honored. Thank you.